Welcome to Conscious Living Collective, transformative journey in consciousness with community of like-minded people, which is you. My name is Tomek. I'm a teacher, scientist, and transformation coach. In this live session, we blend the latest in scientific research, the deep wisdom of mindfulness, and the art of fulfilled living. As always, this is an invitation to you to have your own first-hand experience and emerge on the other side with a renewed sense of purpose and well-being. Thank you so much for being here today on the Sunday evening or Monday morning, depends on where you are. And as always, I want to begin by welcoming my wonderful patrons, members of my patron program. Hello, Parvane. Hello, Austin. Hello, Diane. Very good to see you here. And also the regulars. Hello, Sandy. Hello, Gwendolyn, Kathleen, and very good to see you. Today, we have a very interesting topic that relates to my own personal life, particularly as a teacher on Insight Timer, doing the live sessions outside, during working with people one-on-one, and pretty much to every social interaction I have. And I want to bring it up because it's very relevant to who we are and very relevant to topics that we try to deconstruct of the past couple of weeks, like self-worth, self-criticism, who we are underneath all the layers of conditioning and personality. Hello, Anne. Very good to see you here. And before we begin, I want to ask, is there anyone here who's joining for the first time our Conscious Living Collective? Hello, Rosemary. If there's anyone who's joining for the first time, Ree. Okay. Hello, Ree. So for your benefit, I just want to say that Conscious Living Collective has been meeting in this space on Monday morning or Sunday afternoon, evening, depends on your time zone, for quite some time. And we have two segments of our session. First one is conversation. That then becomes relevant to the practical part when we meditate together and we try to connect with the material that we discuss during the session. In the meantime, you are very much welcome and invited to ask questions, to be as authentic as possible, because Conscious Living Collective is space, and my intention for this space is to give you voice in the most authentic, personal way you can master. That may be in a stark contrast to how you act outside, how your persona, so to speak, invites you to act. And that very introduction is very much relevant to today's topic, because after research, I decided to name it How to Be and Feel More Real. And right here at the start, I want to begin with the simplest questions of all that starts pretty much every single conversation between two people, whether you know each other or don't know each other. And the question is, how are you? And now, think to yourself, how many times when asked, how are you? You replied, good, thanks. And you weren't. That moment, that tiny gap between what you said and what was true, that seeds everything we're going to explore today. But before I speak more, go back to the memory of the last person you spoke to that asked you, how are you? And what was that you replied to? And was it really true? Was it really a reflection of how you felt? Or you simply replied on autopilot with the most common, the most used phrase? Hello, Carmela. Very good to see you here. Another wonderful member of my Patreon program. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence. Kate responded, hanging in there. Was that the representation of how you felt? That's what I'm asking. Did you feel that when you reply to the most fundamental or basic questions of all when you meet someone, is it really a reflection or of what is happening within you? Or is it a performance? Are you true to yourself? And I want to share my personal story here because, as you know, English is not my first language. And I come from slightly different culture that the response to how are you, or the Polish version of how are you, was telling the person the story of your life, which very often felt like exaggeration. But I feel that was much more authentic. And it took me some time, to be perfectly honest, to really get used to and get into the performance of replying that usual formula. I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm good, and so on and so forth, because I could not understand how such an important question can be answered in such a trivial manner. It didn't compute to me. It does now, I understand. It's a greeting, it's a form, it's a courtesy. But let's face it, here in Conscious Living Collective, we are not to be courteous. We are not to be nice. We are here to learn something about ourselves in the spirit of being authentic, being truly ourselves. Because if we are not truly ourselves, if we are forced to act, to behave in a way that is misaligned with how we are and what we feel, that's where the suffering appears. That's why the title of this session, How to Be and Feel More Real. This is the first most important starting point for each of us before uttering any word, any response to anyone. Is it what I'm saying in line who I am, or is it in line with the performance I was taught to do? And Austin, even when I'm not good and I'm here, it's often a gist. I'm here, but it brings joy and it dissipates tension, reminds me to be fully here. Anne is speaking in code. I understand that, yeah? That's very... Gwendolyn, sometimes it depends who's asking. Very important point. Thank you, Gwendolyn, to bring that up. Austin, in academia, we often default by commiserating on how stressed we are. Yikes. One of the recent responses to how am I, or how people respond, I've realized, and I shared that to you before, the response is, I'm busy. How interesting. I'm busy. And many people wear that as a badge of honor. So some other people, to distinguish themselves from the rest, they say, I'm not busy, I'm crazy busy. And there you go, as if being busy and being constantly preoccupied is somehow a good thing in our society. It certainly is good from a certain point of view, and I'll be talking about that point of view very, very soon. And with close friends, we tell it like it is. With neighbors and acquaintances, is the performance. So, very important distinction. There's a time when we perform, and there's a time when we are more ourselves. And I want to come back to that in a second. Very good point. Thank you, Anne, for bringing that up. Jay, I often have my troubles getting to sleep. Do you have any advice for me? Jay, only 1 million pieces of advice. And I have many meditations on my profile that will address that. But today we're talking about how you are, how to be and feel more real. And I'm sure that's related to sleep. And actually, I'm going to connect it with sleep at some point. So Jay, hang in there. Parvane, I tend to not always share how I feel unless it is someone I'm very close to. Makes sense. Kathleen, I tested this last year and I stopped lying and told others the truth. I would respond, I'm not so well today, but thanks for asking. Good. And how, Kathleen, how did it feel to be more truthful and more honest? How did it feel to you? I'd be curious to know. Harry, my response, as good as I can be. How are you? And Ree, if I may, stir the pot, if you will. I sense that as good as I can be is a very clever response, but nevertheless the response to actually hide how you truly are. And this is important because it's not about hiding behind anything. And I want to bring that a bit of science into it, because obviously what I'm talking about it's not a new topic. And when I prepared to today's session, I tried to understand how people approach it. What is the social and scientific understanding of that performance? And that the first one who scientifically took a chance on deciphering that social awkwardness or discrepancy was sociologist named Erwin Goffman. And he created a very simple metaphor, saying that social life is theater. And in his metaphor, he said, we all have a front stage. The self we present when others are watching. And then there's a backstage, who we are when no one is watching, when we're not interacting with anyone. And for most humans, the social energy goes into managing the transition between the two stages and making sure the wrong version doesn't leak into the wrong scene. So, important thing to mention, Goffman wasn't being cynical. It wasn't his point. He simply said that it is okay to manage the appearances, to manage to some extent, be emotionally intelligent and emotionally regulated and simply not blare out whatever we feel. He simply said that the problem is that researchers later confirmed that the problem is that when the gap between the front and the back stages becomes very wide and permanent. And this is the most what I'm addressing, what I'm asking you today using the Goffman's observation, if you will, that was confirmed later by a lot of research. How is it for you? How does it feel? How wide is the gap between how you present yourself to others and how you really are? Because here in Conscious Living Collective, I really want to make sure for myself, because you can see it for yourself how it works. But I noticed, and this is my personal experience, the smaller the gap between my words, what I say to you, how I say to you, and the reflection of my current feelings, the more connection I get with you. It's almost this authenticity and the front and backstage of my life come together. And when that happens, I've noticed you are more connected with me. You write more comments. You interact with me more. Because it goes without saying that interacting with people that you feel in line with, not because they feel good or they feel bad or they feel alike, because you feel on the heartfelt sense that something is aligned. And that alignment, again, is not about feeling good or bad. This is the interesting part. But saying how you really feel or interacting with someone, being vulnerable, that vulnerability is the key word here. Elizabeth, I don't think most people really want to know. And this is, you just pointed out towards a very important reason why most of us have the very different front stage compared to the backstage. Why there is the discrepancy and the gap between the front stage and backstage is so different. Because that assumption, by the way. So I'm pointing towards Elizabeth, but this is something that through my research I discovered to be a very common experience. So although the spotlight is on you, Elizabeth, let me just say and normalize what you say. It's common to vast majority of experiences, vast majority of people. I don't think most people really want to know. That's how most of us feel. Hi, Mary. Good to see you here. Nick. Hey, Tomek. Again, we're a bit late. Good to see you, Nick. Michelle. I sometimes ask someone if they want a real answer when they ask how I am. Yeah, I think this is a very considerate and honest reply. Thank you, Michelle. I might use that actually. It's not about, once again, blurping everything that's on your mind and every problem that you have. Is simply finding the audience and finding the right time and place, but still be authentic. So this is a very good one. Sometimes ask someone if they want a real answer when they ask how I am. That's something I will borrow from you. Kathleen, I had a massive gap and lost my authentic self. I acted so many years, I had forgotten who I was. Elizabeth, that's why I put a cap by saying thanks for asking. Michelle, I tried that sometimes too. So this is for most of us, what Kathleen shares with us is the common human experience, the gap between the front stage and backstage. And I want to put a very real voice to this Goffman stage performance. And I found in one of the forums where people trying to open up, and that's the real voice. And feel free to raise your hand if you resonate with that. I've been performing being okay for so long that I genuinely can't tell anymore what I actually feel. It's like the mask is load-bearing now. I'm afraid if I take it off, there'll be nothing underneath. How many of you resonate with that? That performance of the front stage and the gap between the front stage and backstage is so big, it's so wide that we no longer want to take it off because we are afraid that, well, the biggest fear of all, that if we show the true self, people will not like us. Yeah, Nick, Joanna, Elizabeth, Kathleen, Rachel, yeah, Tosca, Parvane. Yeah, for sure. So this is something that we are facing today in times where performance and the front stage is so important, not according to who we are, but according to, again, social media, to job performance, to status quo that we created by acting unauthentically, not authentically. This is the problem we are facing. And what happens where that gap widens and we continuously are misaligned, acting in misalignment with who we are? The nervous system learns. We start, it's no longer a mental performance, it's a physiological state. And that's what Stephen Porges, known for his polyvagal theory, talks about. That continuously acting, continuously widening the gap between the front stage and the back stage has a physiological effect. So next time, before you even answer the question, how are you? Your body already reacted. Cortisol, the tension, the stress. So if you raise your hand, if you feel tension rising when you go in a social environment when you cannot truly be yourself, before even asking, before being asked, or before even any verbal interaction with people around you, do you think that Stephen Porges makes a good sense? What do you think? Yeah, Jay, absolutely. Gwendolyn raises her hand. I used to feel like that, especially at work. As I've aged, I find I've let go a lot of the performance, feel a lot less stress now. Anne Parvana, Joanna hiding the plain sight. So Anne points out towards very important challenge that we are facing, that Porges in his research recognizes, that as you continue, the one important predictor, particularly professionally, where in the backstage and the front stage, the gap between them is so wide, is that it takes tremendous amount of energy to manage the one from the other. The wider the gap, it's almost scientific, the wider the gap, the more energy, mental energy takes to manage it. And as a result, research shows clearly for people who cannot be at work, be who they are, or the gap is very wide, it's the biggest predictor of a burnout. What is a burnout? When your nervous system in this, it is because of the behavior in the state of discrepancy, is in the constant state of high alert. Such a common thing. How many of you in your professional life feel similarly to what Anne just describes? I used to feel like that, especially at work. I've aged, I've let go of a lot of performance, feels a lot of less stress now, right? What Anne did, narrowed down the gap. And now she doesn't need to spend so much energy. What is energy? Stress. The more energy, the more stress you are. The less energy you spend, the less stress you are. What a wonderful example. How many of you, raise your hand, experienced that in the past or currently in your work environment? That performance. Yeah. Mary, Gwendolyn, Rachel. Michelle, that tracks for educators. We burn out fast. We have to perform constantly. Let me raise my hand here and say, with respect to various sessions of Conscious Living Collective, there was times, and to some extent, it still is, when I over-prepare, when my desire, my personal desire to perform well is too high, I lose connection with you all. When I try to use too many wise words, cite too many research to make my point, I lose connection with you. So what I am doing right here, right now, I bring it back to myself and check in this very moment where I'm still connected with you. This is far more important than how many scientific papers I will cite during this conversation, during this session of CLC. I intentionally slow myself down in order to check in the level of alignment with who I am. Because I know from the first-hand experience, when that happens, when I feel aligned with who I am, when I say simple words, when I pay attention to the gap between the words, you'll feel more connected with yourself by feeling more connected with me. Ultimately, the purpose of Conscious Living Collective is create co-regulation. We spoke about it during the past couple of sessions. There's nothing more important in this session than you feeling more yourself, being able to express when the gap is either non-existent or as narrow as possible between the front stage and backstage. That's where we start truly tapping into our potential. So the whole point of this session, how to be and feel more real. The understanding, where is that coming from? Recognizing for yourself, as we will in meditation in just a couple of minutes. This will be our work to align, to narrow the gap. Michelle, I think my connection with children was always honest and authentic. However, we have to put on that professional mask with colleagues and families. Unfortunately, public education is political. I was always at my best just being in my classroom with my students. How interesting. So we talking about, thank you, Michelle, for sharing that, because what we are talking today about is there's actually not one front stage. There are multiple front stages. And now the metaphor for that is we're putting hats. Depends on where we are, who we're talking to, depends on the environment. So to expanding on Goffman's social theory and the performance theory and social life is a theater, is that actually not one stage, but multiple stages on which we stepping into, like actors. For most of the actors, you perform many roles and you have to change those hats. And it's not different in our social life. And now, based on Michelle's comment, ask yourself which performance, which front stage in your life makes you widen the gap between who you are and the performance the most. Which one is it? And I have to say, also agree with Michelle, because I come from an academic background and spent many decades at universities at the research positions and postdoctoral positions. The reason I left was because I couldn't be myself. The gap, as I recognize right now, was too big. My understanding of wisdom traditions was very often, and who I am was very often misaligned with the scientific research, with the goals of the science at large. That was aligned with profit, not with discovering the truth. Truth came secondary in academia these days. The primary is profit. We're not asking question, is that true? We're asking question, how is that going to benefit the institution that funds the research? In terms of educational institution, what will bring more students and hence more profits so we can continue operating the way we do? Peter, it's a real challenge in corporate America, but really comes down to self-love and just get to the point where I much less care about what others think. Question to you, Peter. How hard do you think it is actually to do that? Because I fully agree with you. But ask yourself how hard it is to actually stand up to that very value that you described, to the value of authenticity. Kathleen, exactly. You're being real. However, in public school in US made us into robots with timed scripts, movements, and observations. Thank you. Austin, I've been dedicated myself in higher ed to be the most authentic I can be, teaching joy and authenticity. If I lose my job over that, I'll leave peacefully. Thank you, Austin. And this is it. We standing up to the important values. We standing up to who we are. And when something happens, the worst come to worst, and you have to leave, at least you are true to yourself and you will have no regrets. One of the important things I've learned about friendships, about relationships, there may come time in a relationship where you not dislike other person. You don't say to other person, you are wrong. You simply are no longer aligned with who you are, and the only action left to take is to leave. Not to tell other person or educational system or government at large, you are wrong. Let me protest against what you do. You simply say, I'm no longer part of that. And see what will happen. What would happen if people would take this stand? Because they were not manipulated into, paying bills and doing all the things that, according to most, have to be done. When people leave, all of a sudden the system collapses because all system, political system, economical systems, educational systems, they rely on your continuous attention. You pumping your psychic, mental currency into that system. In the absence of that energy, System no longer exists. System no longer exists. So I understand that taking the leave, it's very often the most courageous thing, because we are asked very often to sacrifice some things. Yeah. Asked to sacrifice relationships that no longer serve us. Maybe we're sacrificing better salary. So what the decision that you are put, it is presented to you, is that of gratification, instant gratification, versus being aligned with yourself. And that's, think to yourself how often that is presented to you in small decisions in your life. One makes you feel good for a few minutes until the gratification diminishes. The second one, as Austin put it, makes you feel, makes you be a good person. That is much longer lasting effect, has much more long, I'm missing words here. It's much more longer lasting in the terms of your well-being in your nervous system and so on and so forth. Sandy, I worked at the ski resort 1 year. If some phoned and asked if it was raining, we were not allowed to say the truth. Oh, I think this is the it's absolutely hilarious, but true, very much in the light of our topic. Thank you, Sandy, for sharing that. Carmela, I'm fortunate enough to have a loving friend who makes it possible to be totally myself and gives my support beyond any expectations. I love her dearly. I know you do, Carmela. I know you do. And what a treasure such a friend is. What a treasure. And now I'll ask you, do you have someone in your life in front of whom you can be truly and fully yourself? When the gap between the front stage and backstage, I keep using that metaphor because I love it, not only narrows down, but diminishes completely. Mary, yes, Austin, it is very freeing to find a way to be true to your values in a professional sense. Interesting how the professional life comes so often. Because with friends, it's a social, now that I think about it, I think there's a social unspoken agreement that with friends, it's okay to be more vulnerable. But at work, the agreement that we all unconsciously subscribe to is no. Actually, not being yourself, but being quote unquote professional. The more successful you are, the more guarded you are, the more present yourself. You see, I change the tone on my voice very intentionally because I become a very different person when I speak like that. And it seems to me that's exactly what we do, what we agreed to, how to act in a professional environment. And what is the result of that? And that's when I come back to the polyvagal theory by Stephen Porges. The price that is paid by this performance is your health, is your well-being. The result of it is such a common burnout. Unbelievably so. And research is very clear about it. This gap I'm talking about, it's a phenomenal predictor of a burnout for so many people. For so many people. How are we with time? I have a feeling I have so much more to say about it. But I want to, rather than say something and cite another research, I'm not going to say that. We already talked about the cost of it. I want to cite just one or two more voices from the real voices from various forums on the internet, people expressing that performance. So first one, the person says, I've tried to just be myself, but I genuinely don't know how. Every time I try it feels dangerous, like something bad will happen if I stop managing how I come across. How many of you resonate with that? I'm going to read that again. I've tried to just be myself, but I genuinely don't know how. Every time I try, it feels dangerous, like something bad will happen if I stop managing how I come across. I think this is particularly true voice representative of many in that professional environment. Yeah, Claire, Kathleen, Joanna. We all been there, I think, at some point, to some extent. And then the last voice before we jump into meditation. Where's the good one? Because there was a couple of, I'm not citing all of them, but I want to cite maybe one more. Okay, this one is good. Someone who asked in the forum, what if being real means losing the people who only like the performance? What if being real means losing the people who only like the performance? This is a good one, because this is one of the things that is being continuously pushed on us, that we are being accepted only when we performing. So-called influencers. You are to believe, you are made to believe that only when you can only influence people when you appear good on the screen. How ironic that most of those influencers feel utterly alone and dissatisfied. The only place where they can find themselves, define themselves, identify themselves is with the number of likes on the screen of the cell phones. How interesting. Through our technology that we praise so highly, we came to a very interesting conclusion that the connection that we are seeking makes us feel less and less authentic. We are made to believe that only performance is treasured, not our true selves. And I want to bring it down to us here in Conscious Living Collective, where the exact opposite is true. That's my strong intention for our sessions, where you can come here and everything that you say, everything that you share will be received with understanding. And that understanding will translate in a tangible, heartfelt sense. Not some theory by a famous researcher, but for you personally, heartfelt sense that only later can be translated into, I don't know, I feel authentic, I feel understood, I feel such and such, so and so. The words almost are secondary. What we are going for is the first-hand experience, as I always say. A couple of more comments before we jump into meditation. And yes, definitely scary to expose your true self. It is a difficult journey, but very worthwhile. I'm with you, Anne. This describes my marriage. I'm not a widow, says Elizabeth. 35 years ago, Parvane, I didn't know that about you. I left the workplace for this reason. Michelle, that's why we often don't stay friends with people we work with after we leave, I think. Very interesting, very, very interesting observation. Right? If something is based on that front stage performance, it doesn't last. If you cannot be authentic with someone, that relationship would not last. What an interesting observation. Thank you so much, Michelle, for bringing that up. Austin, if you want true love, then allow them to leave, but you never have to. Carmela, I think I must be being myself because often I hear people express surprise at my reaction. Sandy, Black Mirror has taught me a lot. A truly scary series. Yeah, I know which series you're referring to. There are very few things that I'll recommend to watch because the agendas that are coming through are just absolutely not serving. But the Black Mirror resonated with me as well. Yeah, Austin, I love that show. It's alarming how accurate it is. And referring to Black Mirror, because Black Mirror, it's a show specifically designed to point out towards some difficult truths or inconvenient truths that residing with our psyche on the level of the society. And I am not different. I don't want to compare myself to Black Mirror. I think they are much more clever than I am. But my intention for sessions of Conscious Living Collective is similar, to unveil, to show certain things that are happening in your subconscious that are very difficult to face on your own. That's why we come here together to hear voices from many different places to justify that what we feel, it's okay. And you are not alone to feel this way. So maybe this is the common denominator for, I'm sure it is actually common denominator for Conscious Living Collective. Rosemary, I often feel we are not vibrating in similar level. People will deselect themselves from our lives. The vibration is another way of saying heartfelt sense. The heartfelt sense is essentially transcribed into a vibrational level. And yes, I'm more real now. I'm more comfortable with being the odd one now. Fantastic. I think this is a beautiful conversation that now we will take to practice. And the name of the practice, at least part of it, will be somatic noticing. So I introduce another term for those of you who may be familiar with it. But essentially, in this practice, we will notice what's happening within us and see the discrepancy between the story that I've been told by your persona, by your personality, the thoughts that you will experience, and witness them as they are, both thoughts and sensations. So somatic tracking combined with open awareness with witnessing of the situation. And all that will be done in the spirit of togetherness, because my strong intention for you is to see a co-regulation that will happen during this meditation for you as a result of the presence of over 100 of us in front of our devices. So I will bring that up during my guidance, that there's hundreds of us gathered right now, co-regulating. So once again, I will make the point that your effort, your courage to witness things as they come will help others, yourself and others, to connect deeper with the heartfelt sense that it is a representation of the true self, the authentic self. Okay. As usual, I will share with you Peter Helland and his hidden valley. It's how interesting. We will go through a hidden valley because very often the authentic self hides underneath the layers of discomfort, feelings, discomfort, uncomfortable body sensation and thoughts. So we will try to uncover something. Please give me thumbs up if you can hear the music, the balance between music and my words. My speech is okay. Just give me thumbs up. That'll be lovely. Fantastic. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Clara. Thank you, Gwendolyn. Okay. We'll switch us to meditation screen. So everybody knows that we are moving into a period of meditative exploration. Begin this meditation by giving yourself permission to be truly and fully yourself. Whatever that means to you. For me, this begins by allowing myself to be as much comfortable, as much at ease and comfortable as I can be. My feet serve me as a support to provide grounding and the centering. I rest my hands in my lap in the open position that express my openness to all experience, my openness to all frequencies as I am moving towards the witness, towards the self that does not judge, because each experience is precious. With all gathered here meditating together, we become a collective that co-regulates, allowing each and everyone to be and feel exactly as they are. All human experiences are valid, and all human experiences are leading us to grow, are leading us to growth, if we only allow them to be there. And we will start by acknowledging all the sensations that are present for you on the level of your body. Quickly scan through your throat, your shoulders, your chest, your stomach, your upper and lower back, your legs, your sit bones, and see if you can find any point of tension that attracts your attention, and recognize this is a representation of something, even if you don't name it with words. Allow yourself to stay with that very sensation that is unique to you, but at the same time is a representation of something collective, something that everyone had to deal with at some point. It just happens that you experiencing it now. And the greatest gift you can offer to yourself and to others is to witness this sensation in the most accepting and courageous way. Not moving away, but moving towards. And see that whatever your awareness touches changes. It does not stay the same. A universal truth that change is the only constant in the universe. And that applies to your thoughts, your emotions, your sensations, all the experiences. As long as you witness them authentically, truly, you will see a transformation. Transformation that is not the result of social norms or what other people say, but it is a transformation based on the quality of your awareness that connects us all in this very moment, in this space. And right now, I will ask you to explore in silence on your own as I hold the space for you and you hold the space for me. And I will bring you back when the time is up. And now it is time to shift your awareness and acknowledge the quality of presence that you experience right now that goes beyond your physical sensations, beyond the interoception that you connected with over the past couple of minutes. And recognize that you can shift with the same quality of attention to any place, mentally, physically, spiritually. And that ability to shift your awareness is fundamental to your well-being. Whatever you connect your attention with right now will flourish and will be enhanced by the very quality of your awareness. So, see for yourself and move to your field of vision. And even through your closed eyelids, you can see darker and brighter spots, but with a new quality, so to speak. Now shift towards your hearing and allow yourself just for a moment to experience the music that comes to you through the sense of your hearing. Now briefly shift towards senses of taste and smell, even though they may not be present in any significant way. And finally, move towards your sense of touch that connects you with the boundaries of your physical body. And recognize how it feels to have the sense of separateness of your physical body and the space around you. You may feel that the surface of your skin tingles, or you experience it as a warmth. That's the nature of this connection. And finally, add some gentle movement. Direct the awareness towards your toes. Mobilize your fingers. Maybe gentle tilt of your head to the left, feeling the stretch in your neck. Gentle tilt to the right, engaging other side of your neck. Bring your head back to the center. And now, let us all take one deep, conscious breath in through your nose. And exhale through your mouth. And to finish up, allow your eyes to close. And welcome back. Thank you so much for meditating with me. It was a truly wonderful experience that surprised me. My words escaped me. You could hear that kind of I got lost at some point, a couple of times actually, and the words didn't want to come, and I had to really gather myself, because if anything, I would rather don't say anything. Or if anything, I said, you see, I'm still lost for words. But this is because I think I tried to embody everything we were talking about, and obviously your presence was palpable. I think one thing I experienced was that sensation in my solar plexus was so powerful. And even when my thoughts took me away, when my awareness connected with my thoughts, I could come back to that feeling. It was a choice, it was a decision, but that solar plexus deep sensation connection stayed there. So that was very, very interesting. Thank you, Parvana. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Michelle, Mary, Jay. Oh, for Jay, it was first time. Welcome to Conscious Living Collective. I hope that you will come again. We will gather. We do gather every week on Monday, the Australian time, or Sunday afternoon and evening in the US. Gwendolyn, Carmela, thank you so much for your kind support. It's very appreciated. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Rachel, Rosemary, Ree. Well, another wonderful session. I really hope that you benefited from it and you take something that is uniquely aligned with who you are for the hours and days to come. And I really hope that some of the things that we spoke about resonate with you and will give you courage to be more yourself in the next interaction you will have, both with your friends and at work, which we discussed that at work, it's much more difficult to be authentic. That front stage, it's very well developed. That performance that we have, it's very well developed, and the deeper self is not welcome very often in that interaction. But that's the encouragement that this session intends to give you to maybe narrow the gap just a bit by bit. Right? It's a slow process, but I think it's a worthwhile. So once again, thank you so much to all of you. For those of you who wish to, thank you, Austin. For those of you who wish to connect with me, I will just, I think this is my profile. And profile leads to my website, and you can send me messages or connect in whichever way you wish. I just want to say that the work, you can also work with me. You can find details on my website. And the work with me is very much in the vein of what we try to create today. The sense of authenticity and sense of truly being yourself. This is the important part. Learning more about yourself so you have more courage to take it outside. It's much easier to do it with just one person, right? It's simply like a training ground. And I think this is my invitation to those of you who wish to take one step further with the lessons we talk about in Conscious Living Collective. Thank you, Mary. That's very kind of you. And once again, thanks to all of you for your presence, for your contribution, for being courageous and coming to Conscious Living Collective, and for your attention, your mental currency, that it's so much, it's so valuable. So I look forward to our next session. As always, I will leave you with Peter Helen and his Hidden Valley as we tune out. Have a wonderful day. beautiful evening wherever you are, and until next time.